Right now, you're probably procrastinating and putting off something you know you should do or may even really want to do. But for some reason, you just can't bring yourself to do it. Well, if you give me just 13 minutes, I'm going to show you the 5-step roadmap that has cured procrastination, not just for myself, but for all my procrastination coaching clients for the past year. So you can start doing the things you want no matter how boring or difficult the task, letting you achieve any goal you set and fulfill your potential. And the first step is to identify what's actually causing your procrastination. See, the reason why procrastination is so hard to overcome is because there's actually 4 different causes of procrastination: impulsivity, delay, value, and expectancy. So the first and most common cause I see with my clients is impulsivity. The sign that you're dealing with an impulsivity issue is that you feel a constant urge to do something else whenever you're trying to work. Let's say you want to read a book. Even though the book might be in front of you, or even if you've already started reading, there's this constant itch to do something else like scroll your phone or watch another video. Well, this is actually caused by the reward mechanisms in your brain. Your brain has learned behavioral patterns which prioritize short-term rewards. And so whenever you're trying to work, your brain keeps kicking in and telling you to seek out short-term pleasure, making it impossible to get anything done. That's why in step 2, I'm going to show you how to break these urges forever, so you won't even care about things like scrolling your phone to the point where you forget they even exist. The second cause of procrastination is delay. The sign that you're dealing with a delay issue is that you never feel a sense of urgency to take action unless a deadline is close. Just like how every time we get an assignment, we tell ourselves we'll get started early, but find it incredibly hard to take action until a few nights before it's due. But the reason why this happens isn't actually our fault. As humans, we're motivated by the desire to avoid consequences, but only if we feel the consequences are immediate, just like when a deadline is due. However, the problem for most of our goals is there's no immediate consequence of not taking action. If we put off starting our business or going to the gym, life still goes on. And so the solution here is to find a way to make every day feel like there's a consequence of not taking action. This is how we gain the urgency to act every day and is what I show you in step 3. The third cause of procrastination is value. The sign that you're dealing with a value problem is if the task feels boring. Just like when we have homework to do, it feels so boring that it feels painful to force yourself to do. And the reason why is because we don't value doing the homework. Most of us are forced to be at school. We don't actually want to be studying. And so this feeling of boredom is actually your brain's way of signaling to you that you're doing something you don't value. But that's not the only problem with value. Sometimes there are things we actually value, like starting a business and becoming rich, but we don't actually value doing the work because the work feels boring. Well, there's actually a way to make even the most boring of tasks something we actually enjoy doing so that we never have to force ourselves to do them again, which is what I'll explain in step 4. Now, the last cause of procrastination is something that impacts all of us secretly, and that's expectancy. And the sign you're dealing with an expectancy issue is when the task feels too overwhelming or difficult to do. The reason why this happens is because the moment we second guess whether we'll succeed, whether we're good enough, or our business idea is good enough, our brain starts amplifying our stress levels to the point where it feels too overwhelming to take action. This is our brain's way of stopping us from investing effort into things that might not pay off. So even if we truly value doing something like starting our own business and becoming a millionaire, we're not going to bother if we have any doubts about whether we expect to achieve it. But the problem is this occurs whenever we're doing something new, like starting a business or writing an assignment for a new subject, because there's uncertainty. We don't know what to do or whether we'll get the outcome we want. And so our brain starts shutting us down. That's why in step 5, I'll show you how to feel a complete sense of certainty that you will achieve your goal. Imagine knowing that success is guaranteed and that all you had to do was sit down and do 10,000 hours of work. You'd stop wasting your time and get to work as soon as possible. So let's start tackling it and move on to step 2, beating impulsivity. The question here is, how do we stop that itch to constantly distract ourselves from what we want to do? Well, the reason why we can't stop reaching for our phones or watching another video is because we're losing something called dopamine. See, every time we reach for our phone or watch another video, our brains release a neurochemical which makes us feel good, called dopamine. But the thing with dopamine that no one realizes is that every time it gets released, it also gets consumed. And when dopamine gets consumed, instead of feeling good, we're left with a feeling of desire, a desire to consume more. Think of it like a roller coaster. Every time you go up, you come down. And it's when you come down that you have this desire to consume more and fill that gap of fun that previously existed. But something happens if we endlessly consume this entertainment. Our highs feel less fun and our lows give a deeper sense of craving. We get to a point where we're no longer enjoying ourselves, yet we're developing a stronger itch to pull out our phone. Thankfully, there's a solution to this. Our dopamine levels restore naturally over time. So what we actually need to do is take a break from whatever we're addicted to allow our brains to reset, whether it's to stop scrolling our phone or watching more videos. And from what I've seen with my clients is that this break needs to be for about 4 to 6 weeks to allow your brain to completely restore its dopamine levels back to normal. And then you'll no longer have a desire to even open up social media. But I have to put this warning out there. When we hear this, we all agree to reduce time on our phones. But we can't just spend less time scrolling, we need to spend no time at all. Because if we allow ourselves a little bit of dopamine, it's so easy to allow that itch to make us do one binge session and fall back into the hole we were in before and reset all our progress. This is why when all my clients finally make the commitment to completely stop, they see incredible results in the few weeks. But to try and stop using these things altogether is really hard, so I've actually made a free in-depth guide that covers all the strategies you need to minimize your cravings whilst you're trying to quit. Just click the link in the description. So now let's move on to step 3 and tackle the issue of delay. How do we make sure that we find a sense of urgency to act right now rather than relying on last-minute deadlines? Well, it's about increasing our awareness of these consequences, and this is done by understanding the minimum amount of work you need to achieve today to achieve your goal. And we do this by working backwards. Let's say, for example, you have a goal of reaching 100,000 subscribers on YouTube in 10 months, and you think that you can get 1,000 subscribers per video. This means you need to make 100 videos in 10 months, which translates to making 10 videos per month, or 2.5 videos per week, or a video every 3 days. By working backwards to a daily time frame, you now understand the minimum amount of work you need to achieve today, or else you won't achieve your goal. With this understanding, there's no longer this ability to put it off till tomorrow and feel like you're getting away with it. You now feel your goal slipping away from you each day you don't make that 1/3 of a video. So now we have a sense of urgency, let's tackle value in step 4. How do we solve the problem of not wanting to do hard work or boring work? Well, no task is categorically boring. There's people out there doing the exact thing you're avoiding and actually enjoying it. So how do we get there as well? Well, it comes down to what I like to call tracking meaningful measures. What do I mean by this? Well, take a look at an Olympic sprinter. Every time they get out on the field, they run as hard as they can. And instead of complaining that it's tiring or boring, the next time they go out on the field, they run even harder. And the reason why they're working so hard is because they're motivated to beat their own time. And if they do beat their own time, they feel a huge sense of accomplishment. They're working hard, yet enjoying it at the same time. So the trick to working hard isn't actually to force yourself to work harder. It's to find some type of measure to work towards so that you can see your progress and feel a sense of satisfaction. But the two important things with picking a measure is that it needs to directly correlate with your success, and it needs to be something within your control. For example, if you wanted to be a YouTuber, you wouldn't track the views you're getting because you can't control how many people view your video. Instead, you want to track something like the number of videos you're making a week, because the more videos you make, the more successful you'll be, and it's something that's completely within your control. All of a sudden, you'll be working hard trying to beat the number of videos you post per week and actually feel good every time you outwork yourself. Doing this literally turned me obsessed with doing hard things like going to the gym and working 7 days a week. It also works for our clients, so I know it'll work for you too. So now we move on to step 5 and turn to our last cause of procrastination, and that's expectancy. And remember, the moment we doubt whether we'll get the outcome we want is the moment everything feels too difficult to do and we procrastinate. But if you felt like success was guaranteed and that all you had to do was work 10,000 hours, you'd stop wasting your time and just do the work. So to build this level of certainty, there's 2 ways of thinking I want to share with you here. The first is what I like to call focusing on the how. If I asked you what makes the difference between you being guaranteed to start $1 million business versus one that will fail, what would you say? Some might say it's genetics, how much money you have, or whether you have good connections. But the difference is simply whether or not you know how to make that $1 million business. Do you know how to make $1 million product? Do you know how to market $1 million product? Do you know how to sell $1 million product? Because if you know how to do these things, you're guaranteed to have $1 million business. This is why we see serial entrepreneurs have success after success, because success is about whether you know how to do the thing. So how does this help us build certainty? Well, what this tells us is if we spend enough time making mistakes and learning what works, there'll be a day where you eventually know how to build that $1 million business. That's why research has shown the only thing that determines elite performance in any field comes down to whether that person has spent 10,000 hours, or roughly 3.5 years, improving their craft. So if you spend enough time learning, you'll eventually get to where you want to be. Now, this second tip builds on this idea and is what I like to call finding your relatable hero. Because we know achieving any goal is based on developing your skills and knowledge, you want to find examples of other people who've also started from zero and who've achieved exactly what you want to achieve. Because these people are living proof that you can achieve your goals as long as you stick it out and learn the right things, helping you make sure you never procrastinate again. Now, if you're tired of letting your goals slip, I can help you completely eliminate procrastination in just 6 weeks in my coaching program, which has helped entrepreneurs around the world eliminate procrastination and tackle their goals. Click the link in the description to see my client results and for a discount to one of the only 5 spots I have left on my program. Till then, you only live this life once, make the most of it.